The surgeon said only one of us would walk out of the operating room. My brother volunteered before I could speak. I was 16 when my liver started failing. Autoimmune hepatitis, the doctor said. They put me on the transplant list, but my blood type was rare and the wait could be years. I didn't have years. My older brother Caleb was 19. He got tested without telling me. Walked into my hospital room one afternoon and said, "I'm a match. They're scheduling the surgery." I asked what the risks were. He shrugged and said, "You're my little brother. That's the risk assessment." Except the doctors told my parents something they didn't tell us. Because of a vascular anomaly in Caleb's liver, the donation carried a 40% chance of fatal complications for him. Not the usual 1 to 2%, 40%. The surgeon said it plainly. One of them will almost certainly survive. The other might not, and we can't guarantee which one. My parents tried to find another donor. They tested every relative, every friend, every coworker. Nobody matched. They begged the transplant board to move me up the list. The board said my condition wasn't acute enough yet. It would be in about 6 months, and by then, I'd be dead. So the choice sat in our house like a bomb nobody would touch. Mom stopped sleeping. She'd walk the hallway at 3 a.m., and I could hear her footsteps through my bedroom door. Back and forth, back and forth. Dad got quieter by the day. He stopped talking at dinner, stopped talking in the car. One night, I heard him in the garage sobbing into a shop rag, and I stood on the other side of the door and didn't go in because I didn't know what to say to a man who might lose a son. Either way, Caleb acted normal. That was the worst part. He still played his music too loud, still called me an idiot every morning for no reason. He was performing alive, and I couldn't tell if it was for me or for himself. We were in his room. He was on his bed throwing a tennis ball at the ceiling. I said, "You don't have to do this." He caught the ball. Didn't look at me. "Yeah, I do. 40%, Caleb. I heard the number. That's almost half." He threw the ball again. "And not donating is 100% for you. I can do math." I stopped arguing. Not because he convinced me, because I was terrified and selfish, and I wanted to live, and I hated myself for it. The surgery was scheduled for a Thursday. Wednesday night, Caleb came into my room at 1 a.m. I was awake. He sat on the edge of my bed and said nothing for a long time. Then he said, "If something happens tomorrow, don't carry it. I mean it. Don't make your whole life about feeling guilty. Just live and do something good with it. That's all I want." I said, "Nothing's going to happen." He smiled. "Probably not, but if it does." He punched my shoulder, stood up, and walked out. I didn't sleep. Thursday morning, the hospital smelled like bleach and fear. They prepped us in separate rooms. Mom kissed Caleb's forehead, and then mine. Same pressure, same duration, like she was measuring her love to make sure it was equal. Dad shook Caleb's hand. Caleb pulled him into a hug, and Dad's face broke for exactly 1 second before he put it back together. The surgery lasted 11 hours. I woke up in recovery with the worst pain I'd ever felt. My mom was sitting beside me. I asked about Caleb. She squeezed my hand and said, "He's still in surgery." That still sat in my chest like a stone. 2 more hours passed. A surgeon came out. Caleb had hemorrhaged on the table. They repaired it. He was in the ICU. Critical, but alive. He stayed in the ICU for 18 days. I begged them to let me see him. They wouldn't for the first week. When they finally wheeled me in, he was unconscious, wired to machines, thinner than I'd ever seen him. I held his hand and said, "You're an idiot." Hoped he could hear me. Day 22, he woke up, looked at me, and said, "Did it work?" I was crying. "Yeah, it worked." He nodded. "Good. Now get out of my room." Caleb recovered, slowly. Months of rehab, dietary restrictions, fatigue that lasted over a year. He never complained once. Not when he had to drop out of his semester. Not when his friends moved on without him. He just rebuilt his life one day at a time while I walked around with a piece of his liver and the weight of knowing what it cost him. We don't talk about it, not really. Once a year, on the anniversary of the surgery, he sends me one text. Same text every year. Still worth it. I got married last June. Caleb was my best man. During his speech, he told the whole room that I was the most stubborn, ungrateful, annoying person he'd ever met. Everyone laughed. Then he paused and said, "But he's here, and that's the only thing I ever needed to be true."